As the sun dips below the horizon, the city exhales slowly. The day's bustle, the cries of merchants, the rumble of carts, the laughter and shouts of children, all fade into a softer hum. London, the great city of the empire, settles into its evening rhythm. The gas lamps flicker to life, one by one, along the cobbled street. Their glass globes glow with a steady golden light, casting long shadows on the damp stone. A lamplighter moves carefully with his pole, touching flame to wick his motions practiced and unhurried. He doesn't need to hurry. Soon the whole street will be aglow. The darkness receded before the steady progress of his work. By the time he reaches the end of the street, the fog has thickened, swallowing the light so that each lamp seems to hover in its own small circle of warmth. Pow around him. The houses huddle closer, their windows dark except for the occasional gleam of candlelight behind a curtain. The lamplighter pauses, tilting his head to listen. The silence of the evening is not complete. A horse whinnies in the distance, its call swallowed by the fog. The faint clang of a blacksmith's hammer echoes from a nearby workshop. Even here, on the edge of the city, the work of Londoners never truly stops. He continues on, his footsteps echoing on the empty street. The air is cool against his face, carrying the scent of chimney smoke and something sweeter, like roasting chestnuts. As he moves, the shadows lengthen and twist, taking on strange shapes in the lamplight. For a moment he thinks he sees a face peering at him from a darkened window, but when he stops to look, there is nothing there. London after dark can be a dangerous place. There are those who lurk in the shadows, hoping to snatch a purse or a pocket watch from an unsuspecting passerby. But the lamplighter walks with a steady purpose, unafraid. He knows these streets like the back of his hand, every turn, every twist, every potential hiding place. He has lit these very lamps for years, and in all that time he has never been robbed, not once. He reaches the end of this street too, and turns, continuing on into the maze of narrow alleys and winding lanes that make up the heart of London. Ahead of him, the fog thickens, swirling around his ankles like wisps of white smoke. He bends to adjust a drooping wick, and when he straightens, he can see that the houses have given way to taller buildings, their brick walls damp and stained with age. The cobbles beneath his feet are slick with moisture, and he moves carefully to keep his footing. Above him, the buildings crowd together, forming a tunnel of darkness, broken only by the dim glow of the gas lamps. The air is heavy with the smell of stale waste and chamber pots, and the lamplighter wrinkles his nose. He would rather be out here among the empty streets than making his rounds in the crowded city, dodging waste and the occasional drunken reveller stumbling home from the tavern. At least here he has room to breathe. As he makes his way through the maze of streets, he passes an old, shuttered bookshop, its window filled with cobwebs. He remembers when it was open. The owner, a kindly old man with twinkling eyes and shelves crammed with stories from all across the world. He wonders what happened to the shop, if it will ever open again. He doesn't stop to find out. He has his rounds to finish. The gas lamps draw his eye, and he reaches out to touch one of the globes, warm and smooth against his fingers. They say there is safety in numbers, and perhaps that is why the lamplighter finds comfort in these lonely streets. He is never alone. These silent streets are filled with unseen eyes watching from the darkness, waiting for the light to guide them home. He imagines their faces, a young mother clutching a babe, a businessman making his way to a late meeting, a couple sharing a stolen moment in the shadows. He lights the lamps for them, and they return the favor by sharing their stories with him, their lives unfolding like the pages of a book. He listens, his heart aching and full, until their forms dissolve into the mist, and he is left alone again with the echoes of their lives. The fog has deepened, and he pulls his coat tighter against the chill. Up ahead, he hears the distant rumble of carriage wheels on the stone, and he steps aside to let it pass. As it draws closer, he can make out the shape of the horse, its harness jingling faintly in the fog. When it is close enough, he can see the driver, his face obscured by the shadow of his hat. The carriage rolls past, disappearing into the swirling mist. He watches it go, feeling a pang of envy. To be riding in comfort, wrapped in furs, safe from the night while he walks. The lamplighter shakes off the feeling. It is no use wishing for a life he does not have. His duty is here, lighting the lamps and bringing his bit of warmth and light to the cold, dark streets. And there are still many lamps to light. He continues on, the rhythm of his walk steady, his steps sure. He knows these streets like the back of his hand, and the lamplighter takes pride in his knowledge. Every turn, every twist, every landmark is committed to memory. He could navigate these streets blindfolded, he thinks, smiling faintly to himself. He has seen more than his share of accidents, collisions in the mist, men and women tripping on uneven stones, horses slipping on the slick cobblestones. So he lights the lamps with care, making sure that the glow is strong, the light clear. He wants to help the others, to do his small part to keep them safe. In the flickering lamplight, a cat slinks across the street, its eyes gleaming like polished emeralds. The lamplighter stops to watch it go, admiring its lithe form as it melts into the shadows. For a moment, he is not the lamplighter, but just a man watching the world around him, alive to the beauty and wonder of a single cat slinking through the fog. But his duty calls to him again, and he moves on, his steps lighter now, his heart a little fuller. There is magic in these streets, he thinks, magic woven into the very fabric of the city, the buildings, the fog, the shadows. All of it holds stories, memories, dreams. And he, the humble lamplighter, is the keeper of the flame that brings them to life. The night deepens, and the city grows quieter. The lamplighter walks on his silhouette outlined against the golden glow of a lamp, a steady flame in the gathering darkness. With every step, he brings a piece of warmth and light to the cold, dark streets. A silent guardian watching over London as it sleeps. The clock tower loomed over the square, its face obscured by swirling mist. Every tick of its great clock was swallowed by the fog, each chime muffled into a gong's reverberation. It was one of those nights when the city seemed to hold its breath, when even the river slipped into a hushed stillness. All around, the winding streets of London were draped in an ethereal white, the buildings dissolving into a hazy backdrop. Through this spectral realm, ghostly figures moved, their faces half hidden in fog and collar turned against the night. They walked as if in a dream, their footsteps muffled, their voices hushed, their very presences muted by the heavy air. By midnight, the city belonged to the quiet watchers. Policemen walked their rounds, lanterns swinging at their sides. Their footsteps measured the silence, steady and unbroken. At corners, they paused, turning their eyes through the fog, listening for anything out of place. In narrow alleys, cats prowled between barrels, their eyes catching glimmers of light. Rats scattered at their approach, vanishing into cracks. The smell of damp stone and coal smoke hung in the air, a scent that belonged to London as much as the river or the fog. In Mayfair, the grand houses were dark now, save for a few lamps glowing faintly behind drawn curtains. Within those grand halls, slumbering aristocrats dreamed of parties and plays, their sleep undisturbed. Down in the humbler neighborhoods, windows showed slivers of light where people still sat awake, a seamstress finishing her work, a writer hunched over a paper, a family gathered by the last embers of a fire. Each small flame was a story, each sliver of light a secret. In Covent Garden, the market slept. Stalls stood empty, baskets overturned, crates stacked neatly for the morning. The air still carried the faint sweetness of fruit and the sharp tang of onions, ghosts of flavors lingering from the day's trade. In just a few hours, the first wagons would arrive, loaded with produce, and the square would come alive again with the shouts of vendors and the bustle of shoppers. But for now, it lay hushed beneath the fog, waiting. Along the docks, the warehouses were locked and silent, their massive doors barred. Only the river moved, slow and constant, carrying the city's breath out to sea. The creak of a rope, the slap of water against a hull, the faint cry of a gull. These were the only sounds here, a rhythm older than empire. In a quiet street of Bloomsbury, the gas lamps burned low, casting an orange glow through the swirling mist. A scholar sat by his window, a book open before him, notes scattered across his desk. He paused, listening to the silence, the distant toll of St. Paul's bell marking another hour gone. He was a man of knowledge, his mind a universe filled with stars of facts and constellations of ideas. The world outside his window slept, but in his quiet room, thoughts danced. His pen moved, tracing the secrets whispered by the night. It was a world away from the clamor of the city, from the roar of traffic and the shouts of vendors, from the laughter and chatter that filled the taverns and the clatter of the hansom cabs. Here, amidst the books and papers, time seemed to slow. Each tick of the clock was a beat of a different drum, a counterpoint to the city's restless tune. Outside, London slept, but in this room, a piece of the city stayed awake, listening, learning, growing. Through the fog-laced window, he could see the sleeping city, a world veiled in mist and dreams. He thought of the countless stories that unfolded within that white-draped world, tales of love and loss, ambition and despair, hope and hardship. He thought of the quiet heroes, the policeman on his lonely beat, the writer at his desk, the mother tucking her child into bed, the artist capturing the night in a sketch, the vagrant seeking shelter from the biting wind. Each person, each moment, a story waiting to be told. And then there was the river, flowing silently beneath the bridge, a ribbon of darkness tying together the scattered jewels of the city. The river had its own story, a tale as old as London itself. He had walked its banks countless times, each step bringing him closer to the heart of the city, to the pulse of its life. The river had seen it all, the triumphs and tragedies, the laughter and tears, the hopes and fears. In its depths, the city's soul resided, ever flowing, ever changing, yet forever the same. As the night deepened, the fog thickened, and the shadows grew longer and deeper. The gas lamp flickered, casting dancing shadows on the wall. He felt a sudden urge to step out into the night, to walk the fog-laden streets and breathe in the damp, chilly air, to be part of the night, to listen to its whispers, to watch its silent drama unfold. He pulled on his coat, his boots echoing the rhythm of his restless heart. As he stepped out into the night, the fog enveloped him, wrapping round his shoulders like a shroud. The lamplight faded into a hazy glow, and the buildings lost their sharp edges, becoming phantoms in the swirling mist. The night was alive with unseen presences. Each turn revealed a new tableau, a silent play acted out by the shadows. In the dimly lit squares, the trees stood like sentries, their branches gnarled fingers pointing accusingly at the sky. The statues on the plinths seemed to peer out from their stony prisons, their eyes gleaming with otherworldly light. The fountains slept, their waters frozen in mid-arc, their music silenced by the fog. He walked on, deeper into the labyrinth of fog-choked streets, each turn offering a glimpse into the hidden heart of the city. He saw a group of street lamps huddled together in a triangle, their light struggling to pierce the thick mist. In the distance, the faint glow of a tavern beckoned, promising warmth and the murmur of human voices. And then he came upon a small group of people standing around a flickering street lamp. Their faces were etched with worry, their voices hushed as they discussed something grave. He paused, listening to their words, carried on the wind, a murder, a missing child, a robbery. The city, even in its sleep, had its share of troubles. He continued his walk, the weight of the city's woes settling on his shoulders. The fog seemed to press down, suffocating the city's breath, stifling its cries. The river flowed on, oblivious to the city's pain, carrying its sorrows to the sea. He reached the riverbank, the fog clinging to him like a shroud. The river was a dark mirror, reflecting the gloom of the night. The stars were hidden, the moon a whisper in the clouds. The city's breath mingled with the river's flow, carrying its hopes and dreams out to sea. He stood there, a solitary figure, watching the river's ceaseless dance, feeling the city's pulse beneath his feet, hearing the river's ancient song. And in that moment, he understood that the city was more than stone and steel, more than chimneys and cobbles. It was a living, breathing entity, a tapestry woven with the threads of countless lives. As dawn approached, the fog began to lift. The gas lamps dimmed their glow, and the sky hinted at the promise of a new day. The quiet of the night yielded to the rising chorus of the city. Voices grew, wheels rumbled, and the air filled with the smells of baking bread and roasting meat. The city woke, stretching and yawning, shaking off the slumber of the night. For a fleeting moment, he saw the city as it might appear to those who had never truly seen it. Beautiful, ordered, purposeful. But he knew better. He had seen the city's underbelly, its wounds and scars, its joys and triumphs. He had walked its streets in the light, and now in the fog, and he loved it all the more for it. As the first rays of sunlight touched the rooftops, he turned toward home, his steps lighter, his heart full. He had walked the foggy streets of London, and found not just the city, but a part of himself he had never known existed. And he knew that as long as the river flowed and the fog rolled in, he would keep coming back to this city of shadows and secrets. This city that never sleeps, and he would keep walking its streets, searching for the stories whispered by the night.